Hey, hey! It's a Monday morning. What's shaking, gang? I hope everybody's doing well. Yeah, it's a little. I've been running around. It's getting to be summertime here in Georgia. It is the end of June, and it's a little warm. I'm hoping. I see Jeff Peters. Good morning, and Arthur Miller. Good morning. I got some internet issues today. Comcast was supposed to be upgrading our internet. Well, I think we're going to be okay. I was watching it over here a little bit ago, and I just rebooted everything. My upload speed is great. My download speed is horrible. Let me know if this is breaking up, if it's artifacting, if it's buffering, all those bad things that could happen. Please pop in the comment column and let me know if it's really crazy or not. If not, well then I'm gonna chug along like it's all good until you tell me that it's not working right, and then we'll see about fixing it if we can. But I do thank everybody for coming out here on Monday morning. I have a piece of wood, a piece of, guess what? Imagine this, sycamore. I'm still working through my sycamore. By God, I'm gonna get through this sycamore. And today we're going to make where's my other piece? I had another piece over here too. I left it next door. Daggone it. A bowl and bowl, chip and dip bowl. It's a pretty classic piece to turn. It's always one that people want to do, especially when you're getting started. It's a great project. I've done them on and off, over the years. They're a lot of fun. I tried to make the biggest one I could get. And so it looks like I'm probably about 16 inches today. The blank was pretty good size when I started. Now it's only 14. My bandsaw and I we had a few words, but I think this is gonna make a nice one. I wanted a piece of wood in this particular project that was fairly deep. There's 1,000,001 ways. If you saw in the description, there's 1,000,001 ways to make one of these chip and dip bowl and bowls. And I wanted a piece that was fairly deep so that I could make the dip portion stand up a little bit taller and make the bowl portion fairly shallow. That's my thought for today. So that's what I'm planning to do. All right. And see, my pop's in here. So Dad, you didn't hear me earlier, the internet is giving me fits today and has been all weekend. So let me know if this thing starts breaking up or doing anything crazy. I think the upload speed should handle the cause. Again, everything else seems to be working, and I'm actually here. I was here on time. Can you believe that? I mean, I turned it on at 10:01 or 2, which for me is like light years ahead of things. So anyway, this sycamore is about 4 years old now, and it's dry. Now, it's got some interesting issues in it. Let's go to the overhead here for you. It's got a knot in it, and I'm not one to ever run away from knots. I've got it mounted on a faceplate, so this is going to be the inside, this is going to be the bottom. So we're going to turn that away, so I'm not worried about that knot. It's a beautiful piece of wood. It does have some spalting in it, and some ambrosia, it looks like. It's got some cracks right in here. We'll see if they turn out to be an issue, if they turn away. If not, we'll seal those up. We've got our end camera set up this morning, and I remembered today to make sure I set both the angle cameras on manual before I got started. So I think they all look good. There's our end view. That should give you a good view of what's going on here on the ends today. Michael McEwen, good morning. Todd Hall, good morning. I hope everybody's doing well. I'm looking forward to this. I haven't made one of these in quite a while. It's always fun. And I was thinking about this the other day. What am I going to make on Monday? I went, oh, well, and I don't remember the gentleman last week who said, hey, make a chip and dip bowl. So whoever you are, and I apologize for not remembering your name, it's because of your input that we're making this project today. So I always encourage people who come to Monday Methods, if there's something you want to see, let me know, say so. I will do everything in my power to make one of those things happen, whatever it might be. I love input from the folks who view, because it's you who I'm doing this for, and it's what you need to know that I want to do for you. Good morning, Lorianne. Hope you're doing well. I know you're watching at work. Don't you get in trouble watching at work now. Okay, so I'm guessing that this feed is coming through okay. God, my hair looks great. I did get a haircut, by the way. I went uptown and got one of those $10 haircuts. You just go in and tell me you need a haircut, and you get a nice short summer haircut. So that's good. Everything looks like it's working. I'm looking over at the monitors and the screens and all that good stuff. I keep making headway. I added another light to my background, and I hope you're not seeing something over here. It's in that picture. I'm gonna jump over here real quick and make sure something goes away. That's on this one screen. It's always something in this stuff. There we go. On Bluetooth as I walk my property. Great. Okay, cool beans. You know, the picture in the window, you know, of course, that barn is right out back here. There's a big pecan grove here. We live right in downtown, but that's on the way over to Chromacraft, and I drive by it, you know, every other week or whatever. Whenever I run over to Chromacraft and pick up supplies, and I drove by it the other day, and I was like, "There's the picture that I took for that." It's a great picture. Yes, Michael, you don't usually get to come in live. You must be up early drinking coffee. You've been confined to the couch for last week. Well, I hope that changes. Okay, so let's start in on this thing. I knocked the rough corners off of it. Gonna start the basic shape. I got it on a faceplate up here, and we'll make a basic bowl outside on here, make a tenon on the bottom. Probably 3.5-inch tenon is what I'll go with today. It's kind of standard deal. The interesting part happens when we turn it around and start to make the bowl inside the bowl, and that's where you can make as many variations on one of these as you want. So let me switch you to the overhead, and I think you'll be able to see the tool cut there. So we'll go overhead with that. I actually have semi-sharp tools today. I know it's always kind of a thing where I'm always having to run back over, or said I didn't sharpen the tools. It's a big testament to the Carter & Son high-speed steel, M42 high-speed steel tools. They stay sharp a long time. I mean, nothing stays sharp forever. I don't use, I don't turn them a ton out here because these lessons are short, but I sharpened these up just last week, and I looked at them this morning and everything looks good. They feel good. So I think for our initial roughing, we are in good shape. Now this big old knot's going to be kind of clunky, but we're going to use the bowl gouge, and I'll be using all different tools today. As usual, I'll use my high-speed steel tools. I'll use the EasyWood carbide tools. Just whatever comes to me that I feel like I need to use, that's what I'm going to use. I firmly believe that whatever tool does the job for you the best at that moment and that particular circumstance, that's the tool you should be using. Okay? So let's go ahead and kind of get going on this. I'm going to drop this tool rest down a little bit. Make sure that everything is clear. And I just need to start to shape this, and it's not quite completely round yet. And I want to get my tool rest in here as close as I can. And I don't know if you can't quite see in either angle, but I'm literally probably 1/8 of an inch off of my banjo right there. So I turn that by hand to make sure that everything is clear. Now I had this running about 600 earlier when I was roughing it out, but I'm going to turn it back down to 0. And I'm also going to double check and make sure that I've got everything all locked down and nice and secure here. And we'll go right on up past that first wobble. So this is a 14 by 6-inch blank, 5-inch blank. It's about 5 inches, about 16 by 5. Still got a fair amount of mass to it. Let's see if we can turn 800. So we'll stop right there about 800, 850, somewhere in there. And I'm just going to use the bowl gouge and just come in and start on the top and just make a run across here to clean this up. Then we'll start to carve away a lot on the bottom. Now this wood is completely dry. And when I get to that knot, you'll hear the big tick. There's the knot. Okay. So we're just going to get rid of that knot. And then the top and the bottom are not flat yet. And I may come around and flatten that up. I'm going to flatten up this top real quick, just so I know where it's at. So I just come in here with the wing of the tool and I just cut a flat groove. Let me make it a little bit bigger so you can see there. Okay, so now I know exactly where the top of my piece is. And that piece, what you see out here going out around is not it. Right here, where my finger is, that's the true top, okay? Now I'm going to move my banjo around. Kathy Hall says, what type of wood is it? This is sycamore from right up in Resaca, somewhere right around in Resaca, Jasper. The log yard is out of Resaca that I get my lumber, Kathy. And I'm glad to see you in here, Kathy. I don't think you've joined me before. I thank you for coming around. Good friend and artist up there in Jasper. Kathy's a wonderful person. All right, let's keep on going around the corner here. I may go around and flatten it up, or I may just take it away. Yeah, let's go ahead and flatten this up just to make it life a little bit easier. And so what I'll do is I'll turn to the end camera for you. And I'm just going to draw across the bottom of this. See how that looks for you. Just to clean it up so it doesn't bump so much. And then you'll get you get a nice idea of what this wood looks like. So just kind of drawing the wing of the tool across. Pretty bumpy out here on the end. So we'll lighten up there a little bit. Now I will start cutting from the inside out fairly soon, but I want to get this corner off of here, and so I don't get around on the back end there for you. Recuperating from detached retina, that does not sound good, my friend. That does not sound good. Actually, I'm thinking about this knot. You know, and I'm changing my mind now. One thing is I hate to throw chips over at my computers. But I'm going to go ahead and take this tailstock away. After all, and come in here from the end. And I'll change cameras while I'm getting readjusted here so you can see what I'm up to. Because when I start inside and I'm cutting the way the grain is, I'll be cutting down the slope of the grain, or downhill as it's called or referred to. So I'm not trying to lift that grain up. It'll cut nice and clean and much easier. Once we get this knot out of here, things should be a little bit smoother. Put my diamond card in my pocket so I know where it's at. Put my controls right up here. I love having a magnetic control on a tool. On a lathe, I mean. Let's see, let's go pop down here to the end shot again. And I guess everything's working fine. It's not buffering, that's good. I'm happy. Do-do-do-do. So I'll start to cut this knot away. And I'll probably move my tool rest here in a second. Now we're going to make our tenon right in here. I'm going to move my tool rest. My wire out of the way here. Hang on just a second. I want to get this wire on the other side for the moment. There we go. It's a beautiful piece of wood. And you can see the ambrosia beetle holes right here. There's 3 holes right in that ambrosia stripe. So let's just get this nasty old knot cut out of here. And I think I feel a sneeze coming on. So hang on a second. Excuse me. Excuse me for the sneeze. Alright, off we go. Let's get this knot off of here. You can see that okay? Good. And I've just got the tool in a traditional fashion. That's the wrong button, Brad. Locked right in here to my body as I'm making the cuts. So it's locked in right on my hip. And I'm just pulling down on the tool. I don't need a big death grip on it. So if I show you in the overhead, I don't need this big death grip. So I can just pull down with the tool. Give you this shot. You'll see the tool is cutting about 11 o'clock and about 1/8 of an inch. The bevel here is what's riding along, but not quite touching. We refer to it as rubbing the bevel, but you really actually kind of want to float the bevel. Stop and move my tool rest in, and then I'll change that camera shot to the end for you. So our knot is about gone. Now this little splits in here, this is just the wood starting to get decay in it because it's been around for a while. There we go. I'm not going to worry about that top at all right now. What I'm ready to do is come back around to the bottom here and make my tenon. I want to establish where that tenon's going to be. Go right here real quick. So once I establish my tenon on the bottom, then I'll have the true depth of my bottom of my bowl and the true top. So I know exactly where I'm working to, and then I can work on my profile. All right. So we'll go back to the end view for you. Another cough. That's what I get for eating peanuts. I always say that because I always eat peanuts out here to have a little something in me when I get going. So our tenon today will be 3.5 inches. And I just use my good old handy calipers. And I'll set them at 3.5. They're set for 2 3/8 right now. This is a big enough piece I like to have a sizable tenon on here. So the next tool that I'll be using there is the Easy Wood Tools rougher or square tool. That's what I use to cut the tenons. I really like it. It makes it quick and easy to make a tenon. I can make them with the bowl gouge, but it's just so easy to do it with the square style tool. So I'm actually setting my calipers at 3 5/8. The jaws are 3.5, and if I'd made it exactly 3.5, the jaws would be touching. So I give myself about 3 5/8. Little room to work. These tools we need to run at center axis of the lathe, so we're going to run that up. That's a different haul. Todd Hall and Kathy Hall, I do believe, are 2 different halls. I'm pretty sure. And Kathy Hall is in here, Dad, or was. There we go. So now we're right there at the center axis. And I just, I take a ballpark idea right there. And what I like to do is I just come in and make a real simple light cut. And then I'll take my calipers and check that. Okay, so I'm a little big, which is always good. We can cut that down. That's real close. I might even pretty much leave it right there. We don't want it to be too small. Okay, so there we go. That should be just fine. And I haven't taken any extra wood away. So now I can go ahead and start to define my tenon. And I can keep cutting with the square tool if I want. Or if it's acting like it doesn't want to cut real well, and it doesn't at the moment, I'm going to switch back over to my bowl gouge. Now that I know where this tenon is, The main thing is that I leave a nice shoulder right here for my jaws to rest on. And now I can start to shape this piece some more. Get my controller over here. Now I'm going to move it around somewhere else where I can find it but not lean on it. And I'm just roughing this along, so there's my shoulder. I don't want to mess with that. Okay, now I'm going to come in with my carbide tool again. I do have to stop and raise it back. I'm going to cut this laterally. And I might do this both ways just to show you. What I want is the length of that cutter to be the length of my tenon, which matches my jaws. Now I can also use, the other way I used to always do these was with a little bowl gouge. I used to always like to use a little 1/4 inch bowl gouge. Come right across here. And then turn it over. Come right down. And you may, I don't know if you can tell, let me see here. Probably can't because it's close enough, not close enough. I've got this bowl gouge, little 1/4 inch, it's got nice flat wings on it, and it allows me just to come right down, get a little vibration there, and make that shoulder. Now I'm actually going to use my carbide tool to check that distance, and we'll just finish this up. I just want you to see that you can go about this any way you want. Okay, so in the overhead you can't quite see the length there, but I'm right, the cutter is right at the bottom of the tenon. Now I want to make sure this tenon is concave. The tool rest is just a tick low. I don't know if you can see that the tool starting to rotate around. All right, and I'm going to check my my tenon to make sure it's concave, and sure it is. I can see a little bit of daylight down in through there. All right, so there's where my shoulder is, and I'm going to make sure that that is square, nice and flat. Now I need to put a dovetail on here real quick. And then we can truly finish refining the shape of the outside of our piece. So we'll just pop a little 10-degree dovetail on here, like so. Make a little dimple in the center in case we need to. Alright, so now I truly have where I can work from here to up here on my bowl. I'm going to take my mask off for a second and get a little fresh air in there. Remember I said I'm going to make the bowl part of this fairly short, fairly shallow, and I want my piece in the middle of my dip container, if you will, to stand up above. So I know I haven't decided how tall this part will be, but we might cut a lot of this away. But we want to go ahead and get our bowl shaped, and then we'll go ahead and cut the top back the way we want it. This is a nice looking piece of wood, and it's cutting pretty nice. Yeah, I'm pleased with this, and this sycamore is beautiful. It's got some beautiful grain in it. If I show you in the overhead, You can see some of this quarter sawn fleck grain in here area. That's a little goofy looking right in there, but that's what it is. I've been real happy with this sycamore, the way this stuff looks. Eli, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're having a good day. So let's get back in here on this guy. Again, the more of the fun is on the inside than the outside here. So let's get this kind of cleaned up. Get the work out of the way. Best shot, I think I'm going to go with the overhead for you now. And I'll let you see that. As we work our way through this corner, let's go drop this tool rest down. Now, I built up a pretty big ledge here, which is bigger than the tool is. So we'll take that down a little bit at a time. So it's not such a big hit. And I'm going to still change the shape of this some more. Now because and I'm sitting here thinking about the design as I go, because this is actually a serving bowl, let me go and, this isn't a decorative piece, it's a functional piece. So oftentimes I would go from right here and start my curve. I think I want a bigger base on this, because it's going to be sitting on a table, you're going to be lifting your chips out of it and whatnot. So we want a fairly stable base area here for that to work on. So that, if you have a guest who's a little unruly, he leans on the dip bowl, it doesn't knock over quite so easy. So we're going to leave this fairly wide. I'm not sure exactly how wide just yet. I may have to get a sip here of a cold drink. Let me do that real quick, just so I quit coughing. Good excuse to take a quick look at the computer feeds and make sure that everything is working right. Everything looks okay. Looks okay anyway. Hopefully it's not buffering on you. Alrighty. Gonna make a mess of the shop again today, I can tell you that. What are we on? We're on the end camera. I think we'll go back to the overhead and finish coming up around this corner here. Again, I'm going to cut a lot of this away, but having the longer area to work with helps me, define my curve, if you will. All right, a little split there, but like I said, if I cut that away, if I cut this top down, and I need a balance. And this comes to the design and aesthetics. I need a balance of size that's available to put the chips in, so I don't want to make it too small. That's why I wanted to start out with the biggest piece of wood I could this morning, to make this nice and sizable. This might have to be an end table chip and dip bowl by the time we get done with it, but you get what you get when you start with the size of wood that you have. So we'll go back to the overhead. Yes, it is a beautiful piece of wood, isn't it, Eli? I mean, it's sycamore. A lot of people, depends. Some people love sycamore. I think it's a love-hate kind of thing. It's a real pain, kind of super wet, and it holds a lot of water. Tends to crack when you're drying it. Not always the most favorable to work with in that regard. But then by the other token, well, it's really pretty wood. It's sycamore is what it is. So I'm going to take my speed up as I'm getting closer to my finished outside kind of shape here. And so we'll take her up to about 1,000 now. And I do want to lower this tool rest a little bit more. Alrighty. Take that back up a little bit. It may not like that higher speed. It was cutting sweet before. Maybe I shouldn't have messed with it. The other thing could be that my screws, this wood is so soft and I've been leaning on it. I may bring the tailstock back up here in a minute. If the screws start to get loose, it'll start to vibrate. And now another thing I could do here, should I do that? I'm thinking out loud to myself, should I make it have a little flare for the chips? But we're going to cut that away. So I'm going to say no to that. I'm going to bring this tailstock up here real quick and see if I can't take a little of this vibration away. I don't think it'll get in my way. I think that may be what's going on, and we'll see here. Because I don't know if you can hear it, but I hear this vibration. And I've got pretty short screws in it, just because that's what was in the drawer. So let's see if we can get in here or not. And I may be in my own way. I think I'll be all right. Again, I'm not going to spend a long time fussing with the outside. Yeah, that made a big difference. So probably the screws are starting to... This wood is actually fairly soft today. And those screws are probably starting to loosen up in the faceplate. I keep wanting to put some shape in this. It's just kind of boring at the moment. So I'm going to put a little shape in here. Take a look and see how that's looking. I'm thinking about because what's going to get cut away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the wrong direction because it's going to make it a little bit easier for me to put a profile in here that I'm thinking I want, and then I'll come back and recut it. So I'll be lifting the grain with this, but it's just easier to make this shape this way. Okay, and you'll see the difference. Yeah, we're in the overhead. You'll see how it's lifted the grain up when I did that. But it made it much quicker and easier with the tailstock in place to make that cut. All right. Okay. Come back and clean that up now. And I probably should switch, let me switch to the end shot for you there, since you were seeing all that in overhead. Now I'm just cleaning up that uphill cut. I got one little tool mark right there. Let's see how that looks, to see how that cleaned up. I could go over and sharpen. So I'm going to take my my diamond card here and see if I can't just kind of freshen up this edge real quick. I don't have any lapping fluid on it, but I got a little 300, 600 diamond card here, and I'm just going to take the 300 side instead of going over the grinder and grinding steel, and just freshen up that tip there, the edge, just for a second. And I just rub it right against the top and the bottom of the cut, because this is ground hollow grind. And I don't need much, but I'm looking for just a little bit fresher edge just to make this final cut in here. Now I should have some lapping fluid on it, but like I said, it's somewhere else and I'm not, if you know how that goes. And always move the diamond card, not the tool. Okay? And I can see that that's cleaned up the edge. Let's see if it makes a difference. I could be, having just one of those days, or it could be doing a nice thing for us. Good morning from Granbury, Texas. Nice to see you, Keith. Thank you for dropping in. Appreciate it. Hope you're doing well down in Texas. At least it's not hot down there yet, right? Just clean that up. Of course, right there at the end, I got one little tool mark. Let's see if I can pick that cut up right there. Like I said, I don't want to fuss with this all day back in here. Okay. That's just a nice basic shape. That's plenty clean. That's ready to sand. That's not too bad at all. Okay, so I think it's time to turn things around and get to the fun part. Now this is going to be an interesting one, because I've kind of set myself up a little bit here. This one's fairly deep, and so to work down inside for the base of our dip portion might make a few challenges, but those of you who know me know that I love to create my own challenges when I'm turning things. And I really like to do it when I'm here demonstrating for everybody, because I'm no different than the rest of y'all. I get myself into corners, and the question is, how do I work my way out of these corners? I've had this idea. Now I've come up with something, but now I got a new issue that I've never come to before. And so how do I solve that issue or problem or dilemma, if you will, whatever you want to call it? How do I solve that to continue making the piece that I want to make with whatever vision I had in mind? And to me, that's one of the most fun parts of wood turning, is, and it may sound strange, almost backing myself into a corner to see how I can work my way back out of it. And the byproduct of that is a learning experience that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Now, I don't do it all the time, but I kind of probably do it more than I should. But it makes it fun, makes it challenging and enjoyable. And that's just kind of me. All right, let's see here. We're going to pop this guy off of here. What are we on there? All right. It's starting to get into the, it's going to be 98 here today. I was out, I got up at 5, and by about 5:45 I was out planting plants, and my wife Bridget was watering with me. We had a nice morning, and we were done in the yard work by 7 a.m. My drill is over here getting the battery charged, so I'm going to change this camera to the overhead for just a second. We'll just leave it sit like that. We were out planting plants and watering to try and beat the heat. I'm running behind on my gardening, getting all my flowers, my bedding plants in and all this year. But I swore I was going to get in, and so I am. And Bridget's helping me. It's great to be out in the yard in the mornings. It's actually quite pleasant in the mornings. Because come afternoon, the gnats come out, and it's 98 degrees, and the humidity in South Georgia is pretty stiff. So we're just popping these, and these are number 10. These are Spax screws, S-P-A-X. Get them at the home store. Number 10s fit in your. I'm in the overhead. No, I'm not in the overhead. Let me go back to overhead. The number 10s fit in the recesses, the counter bores, whatever you want to call them, real well. Now see how short that screw is? Remember I told you I was losing grip? And I grabbed pretty short screws, and that's only a 1/2 inch of screw holding on there, and that's why that was starting to vibrate. I really should have run longer screws into this, but I just grabbed them this morning and threw them in there, so that's why putting the tailstock back up really helped. Those screws should have been longer, okay? And a piece will start to loosen up, and when I started to hear that vibration, that was my key that something was going wrong or not working the way it had been, not working properly. Then I'm a big advocate of paying attention to sounds and vibrations and all those kind of things. Okay, we're going to throw an easy chuck on here today. Change the jaws out. But yeah, pay attention. Always pay good close attention to changes. Be it changes in sounds, changes in vibration, anything that happens that's. Stay away, Mr. Wasp. Anything that happens that, quickly or all of a sudden, it's a good indication that something's going to go awry on you. And I'm going to reach over here and find my 3-inch jaws. Well, I got my step jaws. Here's my regular jaws. Pardon me for having to dig around back here in my jaw area. 2, 3, 4, my tool changer. One thing about the Easy Chuck is it is so fast and easy to change jaws if you hit the hole. Just pop the tool in there, out they come. Do-do-do-do. As I've said many times, if you start hearing me humming not here, I don't sing. If I ever start singing, y'all tell me to stop. But when I'm humming, that means I'm having fun. I'm enjoying what I'm doing, which is what we're supposed to be doing when it comes to wood turning, right? We're supposed to be enjoying ourselves. In my opinion, some people get way too uptight about their wood turning, take it a little too serious. Everybody's got their own motivation, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Whatever works for you is a good thing. I like to have fun. Okay? So let me go to overhead, and you'll see that I have about a fat 1/8 of an inch gap in my jaws here, and that's just what I wanted for that perfect circle. I wanted to have a little bit of latitude for my grip. I didn't want my jaws all the way open, and I wanted to make sure also that they didn't touch, or otherwise I wouldn't have any kind of a grip. So that is just what I'm looking for in my grip. What I do is I spin it by hand to make sure that I got it. It's true. It's not in there crooked. And then I'll go ahead and tighten it up. Now this wood actually, like I said, is fairly soft. So I'm going to snug this up. And that's the other reason I cut it a little big, because I know that I'm going to get compression in these jaws. So I'm going to snug this up. And then I'm going to let it sit for a couple seconds or 30 or whatever and compress. And here's the reason why. Once you have a piece nice and tight in your jaws, if you go back later and tighten it up again, it's not a guarantee that it's going to, but it can alter it. It can get out of line just a little teeny bit. And if you've got it dialed down to a real thin wall thickness, and you do that and you tighten again and it tweaks it just the littlest amount, that could cause an issue for you. So get it where you want it, make sure it's good and tight before you start, and then don't go back there and mess with it. Now obviously if it comes loose, if it starts to get, loose where it could be obviously a problem, oh, then you got to stop and tighten it up and just deal with it and recut it. I mean, that's just how it is. Okay, so there we are in our overhead, and you can see the face of this is still in its raw state. Sometimes people get after me because I'll say that, well, today I'm going to be turning maple, and it turns out to be sycamore, or I'll say today I'm going to be turning sycamore, and it turns out to be maple. Underneath the anchor seal, the water-based, greenwood sealer that's on here, and a couple of years of aging, it can be difficult to tell just what that is. So that's kind of what happens to me. Now, as I look at this piece, I'm wondering if I shot myself in the foot a little bit, because it's fairly deep and very small in there. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm just looking at, I'm going to give you an overhead, and I know you can only see part of it. So in this contour now, I'm thinking, should I have made it a much flatter bottom, a much wider bottom, and come out to hold more chips? Had it curve around this way? Could be. So I may have kind of shot myself in the foot on this one. It's not the end of the world. I'm not going to worry about it. That's just what it'll be. So the chips are going to go down. In this case, the chips are going to fall down into the bottom of it more. And is our little bowl going to be an issue up there? Who knows? It's all about having fun. I honestly, of course, I didn't really design. I just started having fun and turning and cutting on this guy. Keith Martin, what lathe are you using? This is a lathe called a Colt lathe. You haven't seen that one because they are not available anymore. You can't get them in the United States. They are still available in Europe. They were here about 3 years. Spidercraft sold them. It's a wonderful lathe. This is called a Colt 230. It's an 18-inch lathe, 3-phase, with a frequency drive on it. Outboard capacity, wonderful lathe, but they didn't market and didn't get marketed and didn't sell very well, and so when they sold through what was here, there are no more. I've got about 2 of these that I keep around for myself. Someday maybe they'll come back. In Europe, there's known as the Colt also. Here in the U.S., it was the Colt CO 230. In Europe, it's the Colt CFU 230. And it's also a Twister, is another name sold by one of the German retailers over there. So you can find them in Europe, but you can't find a new one here in the United States anymore, unfortunately. Okay, let's go to our end shot and start to clean this up and decide what we're going to do with this thing all in all. All right. Hey, I'm looking over at the Facebook screen. I see Corey's in here. Good morning, Corey, Rick, David, Dan, Barbara, my mom. That's my mom. Matt, good to see you. We're having fun today. We're going to make a crazy chip and dip bowl of some fashion. He doesn't know what he's up to. I'm just having fun. Okay. How much of this am I going to cut away? What am I going to do? This is a design as you go process. One of my favorite ways to work. Some people can't stand it. They got to have a plan. I'm not one of those people. If you know me at all, you'll know that I'm not one of those people. Okay, now I have put it in the chuck. I was turning about 1,000 before. I'm going to turn it all the way back off. And now I'll turn it back on. And decide what speed I want to run at. It's like I'll keep it around 1,000 or so. That's fine. It's not vibrating the lathe. The lathe is all nice and smooth. All the good stuff there. All right. So let's just clean up this face. And think about what we're going to do. There's going to be a bowl in the middle of this guy. This is the bowl in the bowl. I said I may have shot myself in the foot from a design standpoint a little bit. So I'm going to kind of, let's say, I want to start to kind of rough out my idea. How big is my dip section? You know, how much dip are we going to have in here? And from a design standpoint, how much, you have to have enough space to get the chips out, right? All right. And so how big is your bowl? How much dip will it hold? All that good stuff. And I'm thinking somewhere right in this vicinity, somewhere in there. So ballparking that's my inner bowl. Okay, and we're going to leave that. We're going to leave that stand proud. And I'm going to take some of this material away. And I'm kind of taking my time because I'm thinking about what am I going to do here at the same time. All right. Speaking of time, how we doing? 10:55. Okay, we're all good. Alright, so I'm starting to think about, as I get out in here, how much, let me go overhead here, and it's got kind of a bright light on it today. How much this flange area do I want to, how much do I want to cut this top down? How far down in here do I want to go? Because we want to be able to get to it. So I've got a crack right here, so I'm thinking that essentially, where's my big marker? I'm thinking I'm going to take off that much wood. Okay? I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead and take that much away. And again, because I've got a crack right there as well. So that's kind of what my thought is. Again, if I had made this a little different, a different shape here, I might have come out a little bit further ahead. Hey, how many chips you going to put in it? As many as it'll hold. Good to see you, buddy. You want to put a whole bag in there, don't you? Although I've gone to popcorn these days. I've gone to eating air popcorn. All right, let's get some of this off of here. I'm just going to take this corner away. Right down to that line. And we are in the overhead, yeah. I'll switch over to the end camera for you now. So you can see I've kind of defined that corner right there. It's got a little tick in it. It might be that crack. Yeah. Maybe we'll leave a little lip there. I don't know. It may just be a bowl and not be a chip bowl. You know what I'm saying? Kind of a shame to carve all that beautiful wood away. Make a nice platter, wouldn't it? But that's not what we're here for today. Now this wood, this is punky, this is soft. You know, you can start to see the spalting here, so it's starting to decay, and we get a little bit of different density in that. Too early, need more coffee. So I'm just kind of taking a little bit here and a little bit there, thinking about my bowl and all that, my shape. If you just work on the areas that you know are going to go away while you're thinking, it's kind of how I function. Sometimes I'll just, what I know is going to be gone while I'm thinking about the overall design or shape that I want. It kind of gives me a little time to work before I have to commit. Now if you're wondering why those chips are blowing back the other way, if you can see it, it's because there's a fan. What am I looking at? There's a fan right over there. It's blowing right at me. All right. So I'm kind of working this outer wing down, general thickness that I want. Again, this needs to have we don't want to make it so thin that it's too fragile. You know, we kind of want it to look cool, but it does need to be usable so that somebody at the party doesn't break it. Hopefully survive a bounce to the floor. So I have, like I said, I know I have a split up in this, or I had one. If I haven't turned it away. There's a little bit of one right there. We'll fix that before we go too terribly far. I can see it on the outside as well. Okay. Now I'm going to do another something here. I'm going to start roughing out some ideas here. That tool's getting hot. It doesn't hurt to start working with the different parts of the piece. You don't have to commit 100%. But it helps you get some ideas. As to what we're going to do. So there's my screw holes also, if you can see them, if we're zoomed in there enough. I can probably zoom in a little bit more now that it's gotten smaller. Get you a little bit closer. Everything above center. So you can see the screw holes right there. So we got to deal with that. Let me find some goodies here. Let me get a little CA glue so that I want to glue up that little crack out there on that outer rim. Over here into the infamous drawer where all things stay that disappear on me at all times. Where did I put you? I had you here earlier. I got everything else in here at the moment. That's pretty bad when you had something in your hand Anybody else have that issue? You have something in your hand an hour ago, and you put it somewhere, you know, and now you don't know where you put it because it can't be far away. I just don't remember where, which is sad. And maybe I have to just leave that alone if I don't come across it real quick. I had 3 whole bottles. Just don't know where I put them. Of course, I'm under fire, I'm under pressure because I'm out here live. And it's not a big room, I can assure you that. So I couldn't have put them too far away. Be my luck I put them out in the van for some unknown reason. One more quick look in where they're supposed to be. Well, we'll just leave that little split alone. We won't mess with it. We won't get hung up in that issue. Okay? So, we're going to end up, let me go back here, fix my hair. We're going to end up having to do essentially some hollowing here. So we're going from a bowl, because now we've still got this piece in the middle, right? And so we're going to have to kind of change tools a little bit. I could keep working it with a bowl gouge to a degree. Sooner or later, things are going to get in the way. So typical hollowing tools are, your high-speed steel cutters, hooks, the carbide tools. Lots of different ways we can go about hollowing this. So that's a matter of choice of what I want to use. And the easiest ones for me that are most readily available are going to be the Easy Wood tools. So I'm probably going to start switching over to carbide here, just for the ease of reach and getting that in here. I'm just kind of thinking out loud. I think I'm going to go a little bit further with the bowl gouge up here on this rim, and then I will switch over to more of a hollowing style with the hollowing tools. So let me do a little bit more up here real quick. Old age, I do it all the time. Yeah, I could blame it on old age. I did get older last month, but mostly I blame it on not enough space, Tim. Too much stuff in too small a space is what I call it. And I'm going to move this tool rest over here a little bit closer. I don't have a short one in here with me. I just kind of leave this one long one in here. And I just want to go ahead and come on down this wall while I'm here. And this piece is moving as I'm releasing the tension. I don't know if you can hear. It's moved since I've released it. So I'll just clean this up. Now, even though I'll be coming in here with carbide, I might come back, I'll clean it up as much as I can with the bowl gouge. Early when I first started, one day I decided I wanted to see how far I could go inside of something with a bowl gouge. And it's amazing what you can do with a little practice and enough of, if you lose fear, you'd be amazed what you can do. So what I'm doing here is I'm kind of looking down the outside as I'm cutting on the inside for that wall thickness. So I can just kind of go like that and gauge it. I'll show you on the overhead. So I can now, I can feel it with my fingers, and I was just looking down through there. And the more of this that I take out of the middle, go back over here, the more of this middle that I take out, the more this is going to want to move as I release the tension in the wood. Okay? So let's do a little bit more with the old bowl gouge, and we'll switch gears. So you can see I'm actually starting to undercut a little bit, but it's giving me a little trouble there. So this is, I'm just removing material. And then I'll come back down the wall. Just pick that cut up. Okay, so I'm going to come down through here one more time, across the top. I'm going to hit this with my Cardigan real quick, just to freshen it up, because I probably won't go back up there again. So I put this in here where you can see what I'm doing, if that helps you a little bit. Just right on the two flats. Oop, right around the, it kind of slides off the lathe. And I'm just worried about that top edge that I'm cutting with. Alright, one last pass down through here. I'm looking at the opposite side. I heard a couple ticks in there around that crack. It concerns me a little bit. Okay, let's stop right there. I think we'll be able to get our chips out of that. All right. So, what tool do I want to use? Well, and where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? In the carbide tool world, the EasyWood tools, the #1 hollower, long, straight, got a real small cutter. It's my favorite tool, my favorite go-to tool, and most of us who use their EasyWood tools. This thing is awesome. We can do a lot of different things with it. So I'm going to use this to kind of do my mass removal, and then I'll probably I can't use a hook tool on this one because it's going the wrong way. So it may be just a small round one and a bigger round one to get the shapes. Then maybe come back in with a bolt gouge and clean that up down in through there. So let's go back to, oh, you missed what I did to polish the tool. Where are we at? I was using a diamond card, a 300-600 diamond card. Okay. And all I did, give you a quick replay, real super quick. Find the right place I can keep this held in place. Is the diamond card, you lay right, because it's a hollow grind, Tim. You just flatten the card right on, that's a good way to show you that. Right on the hollow grind, the top and the bottom edge. Okay. I'm trying to hold this on one of the webs here. And with it flat, you just rotate it around if the tool doesn't fall out of your hand. And it cleans up. You see this top edge getting that shiny top edge right there? So that just cleans up that top edge real quick without having to go over to your grinder. Okay? All right. Let's come in here and start to play with this whole piece. I think I may lower this camera down just a fuzz. Hopefully it doesn't do anything crazy when I do this. I hate doing it when you're looking at them. Okay. That gets you down inside there just a little bit better. You're welcome. Anytime. That's what I'm here for. This is wood turning education. I'm not hawking tools today. That happens on weekends. Although, of course, everything that you see here is available from Spydercraft, but that's as much as I'm going to do a tool pitch on you. Everything I use you can get from the Spydercraft store. But that's not what I'm about today. I'm about helping you figure out ways to have fun with your wood turning. So I want to make sure I get rid of my screw holes, and I think I just took care of that. All right. Now, if I was actually serious, I would, well, I'm going to say this jokingly. I need to figure out the ratio of dip to chips that the bowl will hold to determine how big the dip portion needs to be. Now, I'm not being serious when I say that, but I can see some people going that way. Because then the question is, what kind of profile do we want to put in all this? Do we want to make it look like a fountain? Do we make it just look like a bowl? What do we want to do? So I want to make it kind of unique in the back side back here. So I don't want to make this super deep, because that's kind of half the fun, is trying to put this, like, say, up on a stem. Not so thin a stem that it's going to be broken, but a stem nonetheless. Okay. So let's say that's our basic cup area for dip. We might go. No, I don't want to go much deeper, because I have to keep in mind. So I'm about an inch down in here now, give or take. Yeah, I'm right about an inch down inside there. And so I don't want to go too much deeper, because I'll run out of ways to make an interesting portion there in the bottom. All right. So we're good there. I'm just going to come across the top here, just kind of clean this up. Now again, this wall, we don't want to make this wall really art thin, because this is a piece that somebody's going to be using. They're going to be putting chips in there or dipping there and banging on it. So we want to make sure that it's utilitarian enough so they won't break it, but we still want it to look kind of cool at the same time. And so what I'll start to do is I'll start to work around the back, and some of this you won't quite be able to see because there's just not a camera angle that shows you, but I'll start to curve around the bottom of this bowl. Okay. And again, I'm just kind of moving wood right now. Working on my shape, and I'll just reach in here with my fingers and kind of feel how that's going. Now I'm going to stop and move my tool rest a little bit. I can reach 3 or 4 inches over the tool rest with this tool. That's one of the beauties of it. It's thin here, but it's got a big thick shaft up here. So I'm not uncomfortable reaching pretty far around the corner here, up to a point. And because I'm using a round cutter, I can come in here in the back at any angle I want. All right, it doesn't really matter. I can be all the way over here. Let me show you in the overhead. I can be all the way out here. I can be in here, anywhere in this swing, because I'm using this round cutter. That gives me a world of latitude for what I can do. And you can't see the outside out here, but same deal. I'm starting to come around the back side of this now. Go ahead and take some of that wood out. And these cuts aren't clean yet. They're just, like I said, I'm just roughing this out, roughing out the shape. All right. So you have to decide, you know, like I said, how thick do you want to, no, I can use the calipers for this. I want to show you. Let's see here. So that, right now, that's the neck of, and the caliper isn't bad. So that's the neck, oh, down a little bit, Brad. The neck of the piece, and you can take your tape measure and check that, you know, just for whatever it's worth. And that's just under 3 inches right there. So you want to decide how much you want to do, how much base you want to leave to it, and then it starts to become an aesthetic issue in here when we blend this curve into this curve down to the bottom of the bowl. That's where the aesthetics come in. Now, the overhead, you can't quite see it. I'm going to move this headstock, which is going to jack everything up a little bit, but I'm going to move it back. So, because I want you to see how much our dip bowl is above our chip bowl. So what we've got here is just ballparking. That's about an inch. We're about an inch above. Okay, and that's something I wanted. I wanted this to be taller than the chip bowl. I wanted the dip part to be taller than the rest. Okay, I did that on purpose. Live video has started interrupted. It's starting and stopping on my computer. We'll be back later. PS not doing it now. Okay, yeah, I'm afraid it might do that kind of stuff today. All right, so I'm going to keep working inside here now and work on this shape. Again, I'm going to stay with the small cutter for the moment, and then I'll clean it up with the bigger cutter. Because I can come in here with a bowl gouge when I'm done and try and clean some of this up. Now I'm getting pretty far over the rest. I'm about 4 inches over the rest. So I may have to move my tool rest in there. So let's see if we can't sneak this guy in here somehow, where we can do what we want to do and close up that distance. Always turn it by hand when you start to get real close on things. Got to make room for more chips down in here. So now another thing is I start to get close to the bottom. I want to check that, and my other bigger calipers are supposed to be right there. course, a lot of things around here are supposed to be right there. I don't know if I can reach that far with these. Nope. Nah, don't know where they are right now. But I've got about an inch of thickness here. Oh, I was in the overhead anyway. Sorry about that. I was in the overhead. I've got about an inch of thickness in the bottom right now. So let me go back to the end where you can see what's going on. I apologize for not being on the end all that time. I should have been. I'm just kind of working on a nice transition here. It's somewhere between clunky and sturdy. Again, you don't want it so thin that it can break. But it's kind of fun to have a nice arc in there, a nice curve. So what I think I'll do is I'll just kind of round this bottom now. And we'll just combine the curve coming off of the stem with the curve of the wall. Okay, and I got plenty of material there, so I can come down through there with a bowl gouge and clean that up. So that works. I mean, actually, this is working pretty well. Let me zoom back out just a tick. I'm thinking more of the design standpoint. You could get your chips out of here real easy, and still have your dip right there. So that's working pretty well for me. All right, I'm going to come back through here now. I'm going to come down in here and clean up this bottom section right in, starting about here, with my bowl gouge. Now that's kind of risky, so what I was doing there is I wasn't rubbing the bevel at all. I was just letting the top edge cut right along unsupported. You can get away with it, but of course it is risky because I didn't want to rub the bevel back in there. Okay, so I'm happy with that wall right there now. That's all nice and smooth. The sander will take care of cleaning that up. All right. Now here's a question that I don't know the answer to at the moment, but we're going to find out. I'm going to see, this is one of my favorite little tools, and I'm going to run over to the grinder real quick and regrind this, sharpen this up. This is a little 1/4 inch bowl gouge with a real short bevel. It almost looks like a traditional bevel on it, where you can see that. And it lets me get around the corners really well. So I want to see if I can't come in around this corner, and there's no good angle for you to see the whole thing, but you can get the idea. And I can make it to right there, and I can come around here and come across this bottom. So let me just throw this on the grinder here real quick, just to put a fresh little edge on it. Because I was abusing it last time I had it out. And I'm going to shorten that bevel up a little bit more even. And it'll have a little micro bevel on it at that. I'm also going to grind the heel away even more. I know you can't see this. I got to get a fourth camera on here for you. Okay. So let's see if I put this. Maybe I can do it in the overhead. Get this to where you can see it. I know it's hard, tough to see. It's just so small. And I'm focused manually down at the bowl, so that doesn't work super well. But you get the idea, okay? So my goal here is to come in, because this is kind of is all torn out from using the scraper style tools. So let's see if we can do this, if we can clean this up, or if we're going to make a mess. I'm going to have to do this left-handed, more than likely, but I got that first cut around the corner and that smoothed that right up, right here. I wish you could see it. I'm barely on the tool rest at the moment, but this is letting me reach around the back side of this and clean up that cut and taking away all that torn grain. It's real tough to keep the angle there, but I got that top edge. Let's see if we can at least use the wings and come up. Not optimum. I got to get around this corner right here. There we go. There we go. You might be able to see that cut come by as I come around the corner. Okay. Then we'll come over here to this side. Now that's way over the tool rest. I got to move the tool rest inside there. This thing's only 1/4 of an inch. And see if we can't blend this together. I'm going to zoom that camera in for you a little bit more just so you can see. Hopefully it, a little too far. Can you use the left edge of the tool rest while cleaning up the inside of the bowl? Is it dangerous? I don't think it would be an issue really if you wanted to try and use the left. The tool doesn't know if it's left or right on a rest is my first answer to that. If you're talking about being out on the other end. So I'm limited to when I come and hit the wall here with the tool hits the wall right here. Okay. But I'm able to clean this up pretty well. Again, it takes away all that tear out. Now, and like I said, I've got myself down here in a pretty tight little corner. And you could get in here with round curve rests, and I've got them out at the warehouse, but I just kind of work usually with what I've got hanging around. I don't know if you can tell, it's tricky trying to get everything to fit right in between everything. Because now my tool is right up against here. But that's what's fun. That's the fun challenge. And now I'm getting these nice clean cuts. That inside here, I don't have the torn grain from using the carbide tools. I got nothing against my carbide tools, but they weren't cutting nearly as cleanly down inside here. You know, I may have some tool marks that I would have to sand out, because this is a pretty complex little curve to get into with a conventional style tool. Okay, and I mean, you can regrind some things and try different approaches, and that's kind of the fun. It's just finding what'll work and what doesn't work. Because the less we have to sand, the better. And I am one of those that will break the rules just because the rules say you can't go this way or that way. If I try it and it works and it's not dangerous, until you do that, there's always a risk, then I'm all about it. So I'll go fix that now. That's the chance you take for trying kind of crazy things. And that's why you're supposed to, I got to move this tool rest back out now. But I don't mind having something do a little craziness on me like that, because I was trying something new. I was trying something I hadn't done before, and that's okay, and I'm pretty sure I can fix all this. Get this back over here a little bit. It's a fine line between being on the tool rest and running off the edge, and the angle of it. Oh yeah, we'll fix that right up. Although I am right on the edge of the tool rest there, so I do have to be really careful. Again, you could make that as thin as you wanted to down in there. Just whatever you wanted to have happen. That would be all good. Now let's see if I've got a little bit of bump right in there, and see if I can reach in here. Right in here, you can't see it, but I can feel it. There's a ridge right there, and I got plenty of material back there, so I want to see if I can't cut that ridge out. How are we doing on time? 50. Is that 57? I don't have a watch on. 37. Oh, we're all good. I always like to stop by noon, so I'm going to come back in here. Same tool. I hate changing tools if I don't have to. And we'll just clean this up now. This is where that ridge is. Of course, that means I have to do a little more blending. But that's all right. Okay, so I've taken that ridge out. I'm much happier with that right there now. That's nice and smooth, a nice transition. I can take a little bit more. I've still got enough in the bottom. I probably got about a ½ an inch in the bottom. Again, pick up that cut nice and light. Alright. Oh, this will hold a lot of chips, without a doubt. And again, this section in here, and when I take it off the lathe, you'll see this could be, you know, you could make this smaller. Again, if you're going to utilize it, you run the risk of it being broken. So it's up to you just how much you want it to be able to withstand the party, so to speak. And right up against there. Again, I could come back in here and reshape this if I wanted to, and wanted to do a little sanding if I get some grain torn. I could have a double flared base there, which I kind of have right now. Nothing wrong with that. I could also, another thing with this carbide cutter, I could put on a really fresh cutter. This one's been used for a while, and I could turn up the speed and get a cleaner cut. I mean, I can turn this thing up to 2,000. Okay. So we'll take her up to an even 2,000. And I think that this larger cutter might be a little bit fresher. Now it's a long reach, but we'll get a cleaner cut. Okay, we can kind of come in here with this nice round cutter. Alright, and we can clean that up. And that does nicely. Now I just put a little ridge right there doing that. I love this ambrosia stripe. It's in the shadow for you guys. This stripe right here, this beautiful running through the bottom of the piece. Let me stick my tool rest spec further up in there. I want to make sure I'm at center for this tool. But with these carbide cutters, if they are fresh and sharp and you turn it really fast but safe, you can get a clean cut. You can roll them up about 30 to 45 degrees depending, and they will cut even cleaner with a shear cut, but you do run the risk. If you mess up, you get a catch and then it blows everything up. There's the hump I put in right in there. But this kind of stuff, these projects like this are just super fun. You're trying things you haven't tried before. Then I just kind of feather that cut away. Okay? Alright. Now I think I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna take a look here. Because I don't want to make it, like I said, I don't want to make it go up here overhead, out here. I don't want to make it too thin down in there. Because I wanted to have some structure so it doesn't break, and when you're washing it, that kind of thing. So now I've got a little cleanup. Nice hair. I've got a little cleanup around here to do. I've got a little torn grain on the inside. So let's go in there with our little bowl gouge again and clean up the inside of this now. All right. Get this finished up. I find myself holding my breath when you're turning or when I'm turning, Gene. You have to breathe. You have to breathe. I was doing something one day, and a good friend of mine from years ago was watching Monday Methods, and he said he goes, I'd be a nervous wreck if I was doing that. Well, you just, kind of get used to it, and all that good stuff. So let's see how this goes. This should work all right. Again, I'm up really fast right now. We'll see what kind of if we get a nice clean cut here. With this little tool, I can roll right across the bottom. Got a little bit of marking right there when I made the transition. But remember, I've got a lot of wood below me, so I can just go ahead and cut this right down in here any way I want to. Kind of sounds like a propeller going on in there. There's a couple marks, but I'm going to come back and just want to take a look and see how this is cutting. So this is cutting nice and clean, super clean. All right. I'm going to raise that tool for this for a tick. And again, I'll just come in here, pick up the cut. Very light cut now. Again, I've got plenty of wood below me right there. So we're actually putting that final shape on it, giving a little bit of nice curve, you know, down into the bottom of the piece, so wasn't dead flat. Our walls are still all good. All right, I'm happy with that. Now this little edge, I've kind of made myself my own difficulty here. To clean up this edge, to start this cut, to pick up this cut is a little tough. So I run the risk of, if it grabs, I have a bad day. And I don't know if my hand is in the way. So you can see I'm ever so lightly picking up a cut right there, and all I want to do is get rid of that torn grain from the carbide cutter, and just come on around this corner. And if I have to sand a little teeny tool mark away from there, then I will do that before I risk wrecking the piece. And one of the things I talk about this a lot, and I'm going to talk about it again because I think it's really important. So right now it really counts. When I'm making this cut with this little tool, turning 2,000 RPMs, and I've got this little teeny thin wall, and I've got all this work into this. I got an hour and a half into this thing, hour and 45 minutes almost. If I make a mistake now, I kind of mess up the piece. So I always encourage you, when you're roughing things out, when you're just throwing away wood, when you're roughing out a big old bowl, if you're not in a hurry, stop, get your finish tools out, pretend like, or practice your finish cuts then when they don't matter. If you'll practice on the wood that you're throwing away on something where you're just mowing a couple inches of wood away, if you'll take and pretend like those are your finish cuts, and don't pretend, actually make finish cuts that you're going to throw away. It's called practice. And if you'll do that when this time comes and it counts, you'll be that much further ahead, because you've practiced somewhere. When you make a mistake, it's no consequence. It doesn't matter. It's what you're going to throw away. If I make a mistake here, there is a consequence, and it does matter. So in your turning, as you're working your way along, go ahead and practice when you can those fine light cuts. Now I know, and it's really hard to resist. We're in a hurry. It's so much fun to move a whole bunch of wood and have the big chips fly. Trust me, I've been there. I love it. It's great. I've ruined more pieces of wood than I can imagine just getting into making the chips fly. And next thing I know, I go, well, I just cut way more wood than I wanted to cut. Take those times, slow down. Practice your finish cuts so that when time comes that it counts, it really will work for you, and you'll be that much further ahead. Okay? So that being said, I'm going to make a couple more cuts here, try not to mess it up, and then I think I'll wrap this up because we're getting close to noon. And my Monday lunch ritual is to go down to the Mexican restaurant right up the street and have breakfast, listen to me, have lunch and relax before I start my afternoon, my Monday afternoon. Because I've had a ball out here. I always have a lot of fun out here on Monday mornings, Monday Methods. This is the most time I usually get in the shop/studio these days. The rest of the time it's in the office, working on the Spidercraft website and just running the business. This is when I get to come play and turn still, and I have a ball. And I really appreciate folks that come and join me and hang out, because I'm having fun and I'm happy to share it with you. So let's make a couple more cuts. I'll quit yakking. And we'll wrap this guy up. Another thing here is I actually need to switch over and be left-handed because I'm in my own way. I'm in my own way with the tool. I need to bring the tool needs to come around as far as it can, and I'm in my own way. So practice turning left-handed as well. I'm not left-handed. I'm not as good with the tool left-handed. But that happens and you need to deal with it. I'm making my own a shadow in here that's making it hard for myself to see. And so even though it looks like I'm only, say, an inch over the tool, if you think about it, I'm actually way back here. So what I could do is I was starting to feel some vibration, and I can always change the angle of the tool rest. Sometimes we get caught up in what we're doing, so look for another way sometimes that might work better for you, if you can find it. So now I'm not very far over the tool rest at all, okay? I was not thinking that through very well right there. And I'm going to finish that cut down to this corner in here, at least until I run out of room. Because now my tool's going to hit right here, okay? But I'm going to come back up here. And these are my finishing cuts. I'm just going to clean this up. You can see I've kind of got one finger on there so I can see. Pushing down on the tool. Okay, so I've got one little ring down there, one little place I'll have to sand out. But now this is all smooth. So I took away all that torn grain, and that's all good. That makes me a happy camper right there. One thing you notice how many tools I used today? I used a total of, wherever that one, so I used 1, 2, 3, 4 tools. Whole project with 4 tools. I don't think I used anything else. It doesn't take a lot. If you're just kind of getting started and you don't have a lot of tools, don't think that you can't do things that are a little bit more complicated, pushing it a little bit. You don't need a lot of tools, you just have to figure out how to work with those tools. Now I do see real quick, because I can't leave this alone before I take it off the lathe, I got to clean up this corner up here. That's kind of a mess. So we're going to clean that up real quick, and then I'm going to quit. And since I'm having so much fun with that little tool, that's what I'm going to use. I'm just going to change this profile a little teeny bit here. We'll go overhead for that. Now this is pretty thin up here, so I have to be careful and not cough. Excuse me. Just blowing the dust right up into my mask. Okay, a little bit more right there. A little bit more. So I'm actually going to come in this way. And just feather that off. I had a little bit of grain wood that was torn up on the top there. And that pretty well takes care of it. Okay. Good deal. All right, let's take this thing out of the chuck because I had a lot of fun. I hope everybody else had a good time today. I know I did. So we have our bowl in a bowl, our chip and dip bowl, whatever we want to call it. It will hold plenty. I'm going to zoom this camera out and then I'll show you from the overhead. Wrong way, Brad. So I'll kind of turn it for you. There's the overhead. So you get an idea of the profile and the space that we have. Again, I left this, fairly thick down in through there, just for the durability of it. But you can see how we've got our curve there. All right, plenty of dip and plenty of chips could go in here. I believe it'll hold a whole bag of chips. I bet you just about. It'll fill it up, look really nice. Put your salsa right in the top there. And we go up here. You can see how much higher this sticks up. And hold that flat. So we've got a nice, this is up high where it's not getting in the way of the chips. Okay. It's a beautiful piece of wood. Again, the overhead shows you the wood the best. Actually, let me go to, I can change the angles on the end camera now. So you can kind of see some of the wood. I know there's some shadows in there and all. And then there's our bottom, there's our backside. So we have a nice flat base that we talked about right there. So that sits real well. So there you are. Bowl in a bowl, chip and dip. Simple profile, functional. It's not going to break. It's thick enough. How thick is it? It's thick enough that it's not going to break unless they're really drunk. It's probably solid 3/8 of an inch right there. You're welcome, Art. Let's see what is that? That is right at 3/8. So that's plenty thick. Respectable for turning. We're a little thinner up in the dip bowl, but it's not going to get as much abuse to it. So that's our piece today. It's a great piece. I had a lot of fun. I always have fun. Well, I almost always have fun. I hope you did too. Michael, thank you for hanging out with me. I appreciate it. You have a great week as well. Everybody who came today, thank you very much. I hope to see you next week. Before I forget, the Spydercraft anniversary is coming up on July 1st. We always celebrate our anniversary. We'll be starting our 3rd year. Look for posts in Spydercraft, and the Spydercraft Facebook page, etc., and on Instagram. We'll be putting together special packages. Hey, Mary Alice, I didn't even know you were here. Good to see you. Yeah, anniversary live. I'm lining up some remote demonstrators. We'll see how that goes. I always have a few folks come in. I haven't even started sending out the invitations and calling and begging and all that, but we will be having a good time. So keep your eye out posted for that. Everybody have a great day. Have a great week. And I will see you next Monday. Have fun. What do I want to hit? That's it. I don't know. See y'all.